All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another live stream. Maybe, could be. Let's see. Let's see if this will work. Can somebody just let me know if you can hear me okay? This one should be a fun one, guys. We're not going to go into on this one, much as far as the usual Walking Dead stuff and that kind of stuff goes. In this one, we're going to go into aliens, man. Aliens, dude. Yes. Yes. We got Simpson here. What's up, Simpson? Somebody let me know if you can hear me all right. We got Zach Bates. He might be a master baiter. We've got, well, hopefully not during the stream. Wait until after the stream. Okay. We got C. Benny. We got UWOTM8. We got Chris. We got Eric McGrath. Yo, Eric, how you doing, man? We got Nerd Cave. Oh, not too much. Does the sound kind of low? Okay, let's see if we can boost that. Ooh, let's turn the gain up. Let's do that. Okay, yeah, let's turn it up, brothers. Oh man, how's that, guys? Any better? You hear me better now? There we go. Is that better? Ah. Yeah, we got Kay Shalhoub. What's up, Kay? We got Dory. What's up, Dory? Can you hear loud and clear? I can turn the gain up further if we need to. Oh, man, here we go. Okay, so we're going to try our best to go through aliens, dudes. One video. Ambitious. It's ambitious. One video. We're going to... Okay, good. Sounds good, Lewis. We're going to try and go into aliens, man. So where did the concept come from? Where did the archetypical gray come from? Where was this? Where did it originate from? What is the purpose of it? Are they real? Are grays? Are aliens real? And how did this come into the public consciousness for the whole alien deal? Grays, UFOs, sightings, abductions, flying saucers, the whole gamut, everything else. They even have, like, online, there's different subcategories of aliens, right? So you have kind of the big-headed grays, which are kind of the most common. The saying used to be little green men, and now the saying is kind of like a little gray man, I guess. So those, and then we'll get into a little bit maybe reptilians, this kind of idea, which has been promoted, I would say, most heavily by David Icke, who some of you guys may be familiar with, and huge fan of Dave's. There's also other people who, I think Corey Good and people like this, who get into like giants, or they get into like Nordics and tall blondes and stuff like this. All these different kind of ideas. So we're going to go back to the beginning of kind of when this whole thing sort of came about. Subaduba, it's not a documentary thing. We're just going to take a look at Gray's aliens and kind of trace it on back and give some thoughts on this. I'll give you guys my take on aliens, and certainly you guys can send through your kind of comments as well, because everybody loves aliens, right? You got it, absolutely. So yeah, good stuff. So okay, I guess we'll get right into it. So where did this whole thing kind of start from? Where can we trace it back to? Now, if you go into programs like Ancient Aliens, then you can take it back way further. You can take it back to like the Bible. You can take it back to some of the paintings. You can take it back to like ancient civilizations. You can get into that if you want to. I think most of that stuff is mainly entertainment. That's kind of my opinion on that. I have watched a lot of the different programs. There's always new ones coming out, right? Like there's always more and more and more alien stuff. There's more and more and more alien movies. You can't keep up with it all. There's more and more kind of these made for television programs of ancient aliens or flying saucers or this whole kind of thing. But I guess if we have to go back to close to the beginning, I want to say maybe we should start with H.G. Wells. So H.G. Wells this was in 1897. Let's see. Okay, so he was a futurist, and he was a socialist and a member of the Fabian Society. So here he is right here. So he's connected. So already we have connections in with maybe Fabian Society. That's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Maybe not, can I say a secret society? Not really a secret society, but more a organized society with the Fabian Society. And so he being a futurist had quite a few different popular works of fiction. The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Morneau, The Invisible Man, and a lot of these would be adapted into movies later on. You know, you get into kind of the 50s and whatnot. So his science fiction imagined time travel, alien invasion, invisibility, and biological engineering, which I guess you could think of as like maybe like advanced eugenics. Now, he also wrote some other books. I have New World Order here from H.G. Wells, which I did actually purchase a copy of. So here you have the New World Order from H.G. Wells, and him being a futurist, kind of some of his concepts or ideas, I guess, would be to sort of project into the future some different possibilities for where mankind would go, and sort of in being a science fiction writer, maybe kind of use his creativity and imagination to play through some different possibilities for what could happen in the future, where things could go. So here he is right here, H.G. Wells. So he did War of the Worlds, which was 1897. Let's go down to his bibliography. I think I got it here. No, where are his, let's see, let's do a search for War of the, so War of the Worlds, around this time frame, the War of the Worlds. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so 1898, the first edition was released of the War of the Worlds, right? And in it, basically, you have pretty much, can we say, like our first maybe alien invasion type of, hard to say if it's like the first one, but it's probably one of them. They've done quite a few movies on War of the Worlds over time, sort of the idea, alien invasion, you got kind of these tripod ships and this kind of stuff that come in, or maybe I shouldn't call them ships because they're sort of like landers, this kind of thing. And there was a movie, there was a kind of a remake. All right, here we go. We got more recent ones, right? We got Tom Cruise, who's a Scientology, right? If you guys know, he's part of that secret society there. Or, well, it's not really secret, but he's part of Scientology. So you have kind of the tripod walker, aliens, this kind of thing, and they're taking over. And then isn't the end of the story that the bacteria on Earth ends up killing them? Something like this. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen. There's so many different versions, and there's probably some differences between the versions, but I just remember kind of the tripods walking, and they would blast down with lasers. Now, I don't think the idea of grays or of the people who are, or aliens, so be it, that are controlling these things, I guess they would be like more like squid type of creatures, alien squid type of beings, but it depends on kind of which one you watch, because probably the more recent ones, the ones that are newer, are more like, I think some of them are more closer to what we think of now as kind of common with regards to aliens, which is kind of the gray sort of concept. But at the beginning anyway, it wasn't exactly a lock that they connected the dots the way we do between maybe flying saucers and to, gray aliens. So typically nowadays, I think in culture, when we see flying saucers, or when we think of flying saucers and this kind of thing, alien tech, most of us anyway would connect that with the idea that maybe grays, something like this, are driving them or are flying them. But at that time, like here we have kind of this one here where it's kind of got those, like the black eyes, right? The eyes, right? So, which is kind of so familiar with regards to grays, as we're used to kind of seeing that, right? So as far as I could tell, War of the Worlds is at least one of these first kind of ideas, or one of these first kind of pieces of fiction in this kind of space. So this space all throughout it, I would say, is connected with what we think of as New World Order. H.G. Wells being part of that with writing this book, or at least connected with the societies who. So the first guy to kind of get into this, or one of the first people to write a popular work in kind of the alien invasion space, was also connected with Fabian Society and with New World Order, and was also thinking about New World Order, was kind of into these kind of the same types of circles. I would say I would connect in my mind to the people who brought out like the Huxleys, Brave New World, these kind of ideas, all sort of connected in, sort of together. So yeah, here's a picture of different types of. We've got different subcategories, different types of them, that whole thing. The Greys, so we got some comments here. Tom says the Greys are real. Then we've got Subaduba, Alex, Garland, Sci-Fi, Id, the best. Why don't you guys type through some of your... George Orwell was brought up by Spike43. Very good, that's right. Why don't you guys type in some of your favorite alien movies or properties for aliens? Could be comics, movies, TV series, whatever you liked. I liked the Roswell series, which was on during the, I think it was like the late 90s or 2000s. Somewhere around there was the Roswell series. And we'll get into maybe a little bit with Roswell later, in that was late 1940s. I think that was that 1947, somewhere around that kind of time frame before the 50s, and Betty and Barney Hill. Now, I have gone through and listened to Betty and Barney Hill. If you guys are not familiar with Betty and Barney Hill, they're basically like one of the first kind of abductees for what we think of in terms of pop culture as Greys. They're like, here's a book, Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience. And they were involved with, I want to say, kind of the description of what would become later Greys, which kind of, I would want to say, kind of got its sort of form set probably in the 50s, maybe 60s, something like this. At this time, they were still kind of drawing them with sort of like the kind of the eyes, the smaller eyes, so they weren't exactly pictured with the big black eyes all the way. But I did listen to the hypnosis tapes of Barney Hill, and I've listened to some interviews with Betty Hill as well. And to me, they don't sound to sync. So they're sort of placed in by ufologists or UFO people as kind of as kind of describing first, kind of giving us verbatim what we think of now as kind of Greys, but not exactly. If you listen to Barney Hill's tapes of his hypnosis, I think he even says in one part, I'd have to get the quote, but you can listen to them online. Different sites and whatnot have the hypnosis tapes from Barney, where they would do the hypnotic regression and kind of bring him back to the part where they were abducted before supposedly their thoughts had been kind of, their memory had been sort of cleared, which is very common with abduction phenomena or abduction experiences. Now, it doesn't seem exactly to jive with kind of what we think of now as Greys exactly. There are some discrepancies. I believe he said that he thought that the Greys were wearing clothing, which is sometimes sort of different from what you hear from others. So sometimes you get the description that Greys don't have any kind of clothing on, or they're kind of sexless, or their eyes take up the whole part of their socket, like they're solid black all the way. Then other times you get the sense that they have bigger eyes, but they don't fill out the whole thing. They don't fill up the entirety of their kind of socket. They're kind of like you have a retina, or you have a smaller part. Like they're not solid all the way in terms of black. Now, I think he described that one of them was wearing like a commander hat or something like this, or like clothing of some kind. So the descriptions, at least from the early days, were not exactly perfect, or they weren't exactly the same for all of them. Now, Dr. David Jacobs, I think right now, is kind of the leader in the world in terms of the abduction phenomenon, studying it, doing the hypnotic regression with people, getting them to kind of go back into their experiences. And he says, anyway, I want to buy some of his books. The Threat, I think, is one of them. He says that the Greys have it down to basically a science, to where they will abduct somebody. They will follow a process, like a military step-by-step process. They will abduct people, and then they will, do a step-by-step set of kind of procedures. Like if you're going to the doctor, you come in, you do kind of, if you go to a doctor here, wherever you are, and if you go to a doctor in a city next to it, the booking in process. Let's say you went to a chain, like there's some chains that have protocols, right? So you go to one a chain, like a McDonald's, and you go, let's say fast food, you go through, you get, when you place your order, they're going to ask you want fries with that, you want a combo, basically, right? Do you want to get a drink and fries with your thing? And then you go to another McDonald's, even if it's in another country, or another state over or nearby, and they basically do the same thing. You go through. It's a similar process, just like the military will have similar processes for different things that they do. So Dr. David Jacobs has sort of laid out the process by which the Greys supposedly follow each time they abduct somebody. So they'll do sort of they'll check, for example, they'll have them come in, they'll have them undressed, let's say. They'll have them sit on a certain table or what have you. They'll perform certain analysis of the person, make sure that there's no defects, and then later they'll do something with them, and like they'll do an inspection, make sure that they're not flawed in some way. They don't have any kind of serious, I'd say maybe health conditions or any kind of defects with them, so that then afterwards they basically take them. And what's very common in the abduction experience is that they extract, this is all, kind of laid out in, UFOologists or people who have done, a lot of work studying it, researching it, doing the hypnotic regressions. They will extract from the males semen, and from the females they will do things like this. Now this is what's purported, or this is what's kind of kind of put out there into the UFO space. Even further, if you want to go further than that, if you're researching this a lot and you want to kind of know, I would point you to Dr. David Jacobs. Very, very good at it. Maybe I should bring up a page for him here. But basically, there is, according to him anyway, he's kind of the world leader. I think he's done the most hypnotic regressions of anyone right now in the world, internationally, not just one country, but different places, this kind of thing. He'll even go into kind of a hybridization program that he believes that they're kind of doing. So they'll abduct people, they'll do that, and then they'll create some kind of human/alien hybrids of some kind. Now, that's kind of out there, but he is, I believe he is, why don't we bring him up? David Jacobs. Let's see. Aliens. Did I get his name right? Let's see. Yeah, I did get his name right. Here he is. So this is him. So he wrote The Threat, and he's got a lot of videos you can watch online if you want to sort of get into it. And let's do this copy image right here. So you can buy his book, so you can check out if you want to know more sort of about the real world kind of study. Now, whether or not you trust him or not is tricky. Certainly, some people are a proponent. They do believe in aliens, and some people don't. Some people are into it. They think, oh yeah, for sure, being visited, and there is a whole program going on with these entities, and some people don't. It's very difficult, to parse through it all, but we're going to go into a little bit more sort of the involvement. But he kind of has, here is what's supposedly a hybrid, who would be like a half human, half alien hybrid. It's kind of drawn with like a little bit of hair here, that kind of thing, somewhere in the middle. And in this case, you kind of have this depiction with a dress and probably most likely a hybrid, further hybrid baby. So he does get into a lot of this stuff too. You can go and listen to a lot of his different interviews, different tapes and whatnot. Walking Among Us is one of them. Now, very difficult to say. So he is a doctor. He is for real, right? But it's a question of, do you think this is actually happening? Do you think this is just crazy people? Well, I don't think he's crazy. If you're going to kind of become, as I guess, if you've researched it enough as he has, you listen to him kind of present, you wouldn't, I don't think you'd get the idea that he's just some crazy guy, right? He's done this kind of this is his career as well too, I believe. He's got I believe he's got a PhD in, and he did it in kind of, I think, the history of UFOs and that kind of thing. So he sort of, I guess you could say, yeah, he wrote the book, I guess, on aliens and this kind of thing. There are some good interviews with him you can watch online, to kind of see. I do find intriguing some of the things that he's brought up, which I think are pretty cool in that, regardless of country, at least he claims that he's got the process down to where, whether you're in the U.S. or whether you're in Ethiopia or whether you're wherever, Japan maybe, let's say, he has kind of a process down of the abduction phenomenon, which is pretty static. Like it's basically the same regardless. Let's use Chile as an example, because for some reason there seems to be a lot of reports of this in Chile, of people being abducted, objects in the sky, UFOs, flying saucers, this kind of thing. He says that it's basically the same process for abductions, whether it's in Chile, U.S., Japan, wherever, like globally, wherever you are. And people with different cultures, people with different backgrounds, not necessarily people that have all been exposed to movies, films, comics, let's say, books like War of the Worlds, things like this. Film would be the biggest one nowadays. Online hosts that are kind of popular in this space, like a Joe Rogan or somebody like this. There's lots of people that kind of specialize online in just sort of the alien space. So there are people that don't really know anything about it that supposedly, anyway, based on what he says and what others say, report the same kind of stuff for the abduction phenomenon. So he's kind of the prominent one to look at right now. I'll leave you guys with that for him as far as the abduction stuff goes. But my point about it is that it doesn't seem like, to me, when I listen to Betty Barney Hill and kind of the original, kind of where it came from, it doesn't feel like, to me, the exact description always matches. Not exactly. Okay. Now we will get into whether or not these are some kind of fallen demons, something like this, from another dimension, not necessarily from Zeta Reticuli. I just like the last part, right? Zeta Reticuli. So I don't necessarily know if they're from another galaxy, from Zeta Reticuli, which is kind of, I believe that was also connected with the Barney Hill case, because Betty Hill had described what they had given to her as information, and they were able to kind of find from the constellation, I believe, or from her memory, that supposedly they were from Zeta Reticuli, the ones that abducted her. But when I listen to other interviews with her, she doesn't really present well. She kind of comes across as a bit of maybe a wingnut, or as one of these kind of people that is a little bit sort of out there. And I don't think her description and his description are exactly in sync. They're a couple, by the way. They were together and everything. I think he's deceased now. Her, I'm not sure if she's still around at this moment, but she's getting older now at this point, as you might expect, considering this. It was kind of the first alien abduction sort of story that kind of came out there. So tricky to say. But, if you want to dive into that more, you can research that more yourself. You can listen to his hypnosis tapes. He does come across as terrified during them, very, very scared. And I believe they were driving, weren't they? And their car kind of froze or stopped. And then next thing they know, they were kind of abducted, but then they were kind of put back and they couldn't really remember everything. And so they brought in the hypnosis to sort of extract the memories from them. It is interesting, though, that hypnosis is often used. I wonder if the people who are doing the hypnosis necessarily are trustworthy, and is it possible that it could be going the other way and they could be actually talking them into things and implanting thoughts in their mind instead of kind of extracting them. That is something that's interesting to me, is just kind of that concept or that kind of thought. Also, the MK Ultra stuff has a lot of connections with aliens as well too. They will often, I don't have any specifics here, but it's often described as you kind of have some connections between the two. We'll get into crop circles after, and crop circles do have some connections with MI5. as well as some people kind of in the conspiracy space that have been described as possibly connected to MI5, which I don't, again, that's all super secretive. You can't really know for sure. But anyway, definitely there was a huge part in pop culture for aliens during the I want to say the 1950s especially. I mean, it's never gone away, but it was everywhere in the 50s. It was like the big, the big thing, right? But again, there wasn't exactly a consensus on what did the aliens look like. Some movies, they look this way. Some movies, they look that way. There isn't exactly a consistency of, exactly what they look like. I guess maybe this was kind of the start of kind of, horror movies go back on further, but it just really feels like to me, for some reason, in the 50s, it really just became like maybe a bigger industry or a huge industry. Maybe because WW2 was over, and so it was kind of going into kind of the Cold War type era, post-Germany and whatnot, in terms of real life. But for some reason, you had Phoenix Lights, you had things like this after. It sort of just feels like this really became a thing after WW2 was over. Now, to go with the, we're going to jump around a little bit here. To go with the demon angle, so that there's some kind of demons, we can go back to 1917 and what was a creature that was kind of, supposedly anyway, was sort of summoned up or conjured up by Crowley. And so that is through Aiwass, which was kind of so he wrote a book called The Book of the Law. I think you can still get it, but it's very dark stuff. And just to be warned, if you're going to read Crowley, it's very, very dark. A lot of it's very dark, and it's up to you, how far you want to go with that. After you need to take breaks, be very careful with that kind of stuff. If you're going to read into that kind of space, you got to be super careful, because you're getting into some really dark stuff, and it's you just gotta go slowly through it, I'd say, and you have to be careful with it, because you don't, when you're looking into that kind of darkness or that kind of evil, even to research it, you got to be careful, because it can consume, I would say, it can consume you in some way. So you just got to be really careful with it. So in 1917, he supposedly was kind of conjured up, summoned, or somehow got in contact with an entity that was referred to as Lamb or Aiwass. And supposedly this entity dictated to him the Book of the Law. Now, the Book of the Law is kind of and he also did some other Thelema and different things like this, which are often used, I would say, or thought of highly in high-level satanic or Luciferian circles. And so this is the drawing that he did for Lamb or Aiwass, or Lamb as an agent of Aiwass, this entity, kind of formless entity that kind of came into his mind and told him. So this kind of gets into kind of demon possession or communication with what you could call, the nice way of saying it would be spirit guides, but another way to look at it would be demonic entities or demons. So this was drawn, I believe, in, just try to get the dates close here anyway, to give us some idea, 1917, but they say probably drawn in 1917. So one thing that I looked at first is, shit, doesn't that look like a gray? Doesn't that look like a gray alien? And I still feel that it does, but it's difficult to kind of, because it's kind of in the demonology or the demon worship or the demon possession, demon communication, spiritual kind of realm. Usually we disconnect it from kind of the outer space realm, right? We don't think of it as like the same kind of thing as sort of the alien, intergalactic, interplanetary, coming here from another planet, another star system kind of idea. But shit, in 1917, does that not look prophetically like a gray? Now, it's got the smaller eyes, right? It's got kind of somewhat of a nose and the smaller mouth, but he didn't draw on any ears from the front, I don't think. But he did draw it on, it looks like, as either wearing some kind of clothing or something. I don't know what you want to make of that. Is it a robe? Is it clothing? But it still is consistent that it has kind of that smaller body form with the big, super brain head, right? So the idea of not really needing, and this kind of brings in kind of the futurist kind of ideas of maybe not needing so much of a physical prowess, body, in that, like, like we would think of as kind of, if it's male or sexless, I guess it probably would sort of be, but if it was male, you wouldn't think of it as having kind of like that that masculine kind of frame or that masculine kind of physicality, kind of that childlike, not needing the muscles anymore to do things manually, more like telepathic is kind of the description of these kind of, same with Lamb, and same with Grace, right? A telepathic communication. Not breathing, I believe, is consistent as a description, but not really using the body for much. Instead, actually communicating and controlling things, telepathically, right? So that's kind of connected with as well. And similar with Lamb, which was kind of a demonic entity, demonic spirit that had communicated with, supposedly, or he thought anyway, with him, or he claimed anyway for that to be the case. Supposedly communicating with him, dictating information. Now, this kind of goes into sort of that British, I want to say that old British aristocracy, guys like H.G. Wells, New World Order, Tavistock Institute, sort of that same kind of school of thought. And I have heard it described as well with regards to Illuminati, that some of the entities that show up during certain rituals look like Grace. So they'll be doing some. Now, this is from people who have kind of left sort of some of those upper echelon types of societies that have kind of left, that have told others, Fritz Springmeier would be an example, about some of the rituals that they do, some of the rituals that they have done, and have purported, according to Fritz and what he said, as leaks from inside some of these higher level, maybe say Fabian Society and above. All the societies, it seems like, whether it's Freemasonry, whether it's Skull and Bones in the States, Yale, whether it's Fabian Society, whether it's even some of the other kind of societies that sound more harmless, it seems that at the upper echelons of these societies, they connect into a web, if you want to go with the David Icke kind of layout, the spider's web, the spider, a web or a pyramid that goes into the sort of illuminated degrees, which would be at the top, which is connected to your London type of kind of base. Also, combined with the intelligence agencies as well, connected on through an upper tier level base, which the lower secret societies feed up into. OTO, groups like this, higher Masonic sections, illuminated degrees. So it is pretty good information from Fritz to say, or it's something that should be thought about, which is to say that people who leave the Illuminati or leave these higher echelon secret society groups, upper Freemasonry, Skull and Bones, these other groups, people who leave purport that while they do certain sacred rituals that the mystery schools keep under wrap, keep themselves secure. You're not going to be able to, most likely find out what these rituals are. Sometimes they might involve blood. They might involve sacrifice. They might involve things like this. He says that he was told that by some of the people who leave the cult, I guess we could call it in this case, like David Icke does, in that essence, it is very cult-like, I suppose, that these higher echelons, so Satanists are a strange people. Some of these Luciferian people are a strange people. They're super successful. They're super, up there, prominent politicians, bankers, different, maybe educators, researchers, just different people that connect into some of these societies. H.G. Wells, people like this. There's lots of others, the Huxleys, such others, Committee of 300 type people. It's interesting that when some of them leave, they give information that, okay, these entities are real, and sometimes they will show up during certain rituals, ceremonies. Like if you've seen the tape of the Bohemian Grove, which I think was Alex Jones who snuck in, and maybe was invited, but got in somehow and filmed the wise old owl Moloch, the Owlie ceremony, right? And so what they were doing, and it was kind of like a mock sacrifice ceremony. So I do think it's interesting that when the people in the illuminated degrees in these higher levels do their ceremonies, that sometimes it sounds like from what's leaked, sometimes Greys or these types of entities will show up. So possibly the idea that they're not aliens at all, that they're demonic origin. And you do find, as you research this more and more, you do find with the alien deal, you do find government agencies connected. You do find secret societies connected. We'll get into crop circles after, and the MI5 connection. But you do get this is interesting that it's kind of got an owl embedded somewhere here. Very cool, wise old owl that sees. See, owls can see, right? Owls can see what others can't. Owls have very good vision. So that's where the idea of kind of eyes to see, vision, being able to see past what the profane see, being able to see inside as a skill set of your people that are kind of more in these illuminated types of circles. So I can't discount a connection between what he drew and what we think of now as grays. I almost want to say, and I don't have data to support it, but I almost want to make a dot connection there between Lamb, what was 1917, and what we think of as grays, which I want to say this was kind of popularized in Communion, which was Whitley Strieber. So maybe we'll go into Whitley Strieber and Communion, but it can't help, the title of it doesn't make me think anything outside of communion. What's a communion? Kind of a religious experience or a mythical, spiritual kind of experience is a communion. So sort of kind of the connecting in with sort of these darker elements, more Luciferian, satanic type elements, and kind of what we think of as sci-fi pop culture, a blending between the two. Whitley Strieber claimed that communion was factual or was legitimate, but he was a science fiction writer, and he was a struggling science fiction writer before he wrote it. So it's very suspicious to look at Communion and Whitley Strieber and to say, wait a minute, you were a sci-fi writer, and now you're writing a book, Communion, on aliens, but it's factual. So you're saying you got abducted by aliens, and you just happen to be a sci-fi writer or like a fiction writer. And I think he did also do one book on black magic. I don't know if it was with a K or not. But again, if you're going to go magic with a K, if you're going to go into that, then that would point to more that they are some kind of demonic realm entity and really not good guys. And there was a quote here. It said, so it looks like a gray. So the quote is, today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they'll call them something else. And so that's the quote. And it says, he outspokenly exclaimed that the aliens, in fact, the demons of old. So the enemies of the true gods. That was what the site had said. True God, Jesus Christ. So a connection between. So today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they'll call them something else. Which it's interesting, right? I think it's an interesting connection, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you have a form that is so similar between the two. So to go from Betty Barney Hill, if we go to Communion, which was Whitley Strieber, who did Communion, and I want to say this is where, and they used it for movies too. This is kind of dated now, right? Like the way this movie looks, it looks so fake for us now, right? What we're used to now for movies. But that was with Christopher Walken, right? Is it Christopher Walken, right? Needs more cowbell, right? I gotta have more cowbell. So we've got Communion there. Whitley Strieber. Okay. Now I think Whitley Strieber also did a book on black magic, which would connect him, at least in terms of knowledge, with Crowley or with sort of demons. Whitley Strieber, because you can't miss it out. You can't learn about that kind of stuff without at least going into Crowley a little bit. He did a book. Was it Magic? Something like this. I think it was Black Magic. Yeah, you can't write a black magic. Yeah, black magic, right? And look at this, right? You got kind of the star, black magic, this kind of thing. He was a writer before, and then he claimed to be abducted by aliens, and he did this whole thing, and he made millions of dollars and whatnot. Of course he would. All right. So it's sort of like, of course he would. Of course he'd make lots of money off of it, right? Because it would work. But it cannot be a coincidence that he was a writer first, and then he claims to be abducted by aliens, and then he sells lots of books, and he does very well. And look, occult, right? So what do you got? Whitley Strieber, occult, which is your connection with the demon type of deal, which would be lamb, and aliens. So you have an occult, a guy who's at least studied the occult, right? He's studied, you got the serpent there. So there you go. There's your Luciferian serpent, the garden, whatnot, what have you. Black magic, this kind of same sort of genre. So he's writing that black magic. So obviously he's aware of all this stuff. And he's the one who sort of gives us this form right here through his work, Communion, right? See on the cover, A True Story by Whitley Strieber. So you mean to tell me that he just happens to be a creative writer, right, a fiction writer, claims this to be a true story. Here, I think this is him right here. I don't want to, this isn't a hit piece on Whitley or whatever, anything like that. I don't want to do that, okay? So, you know what I mean? I don't want to do that. But and here's one on New World, so same kind of it's like you can just see the genres or the way they're thinking, kind of the layout of their, if you will, Mind Wars, Aquino architecture, if you will, the mental architecture of the person who did Communion, which was a huge blockbuster later with Christopher Walken, Mr. Cowbell. For that, here's a one eye for an alien. That's kind of cool, right? It's just one eye symbolism for an alien, right? You can't, it's interesting how he happens to be a guy who's aware of all the occult stuff. He seems to have studied it to write other works like black magic. The same kind of connection here that you would see for, the similarities between that. And then also the statement that today they'll call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they'll call them something else. I guess we're in that tomorrow. And I guess now we call them aliens. We call them grays. So is it possible that the alien abduction phenomenon is actually some kind of demon possession phenomenon, something like this? I don't know. That's very difficult to say. I'll let you guys kind of form your thoughts on your own there as far as how you want to think about that. That's your choice, right? That's up to you. I'm going to try to not be careful not to tell you what's right and what's wrong here, because this is something that is a very interesting topic. You have to bring flying saucers into the mix. So is it that flying saucers are vehicles that the fallen could use to interface with our reality? When people are abducted, are they actually physically gone? Or is it a psychological possession gone? Is it a psychological, their mind is being, sort of taken from their body kind of things? Again, it's up to you. We did get a super chat from Young Exile. Thank you, Young, for your support. And he said, how do you feel about the gravitational manipulation theory Bob Lazar was talking about? Good. Thank you, Young, for bringing up Bob Lazar. I got stuff prepped for him right after this, and I'll give you my take on that. Was talking about when it comes to UFO interstellar travel. So what I'm kind of purporting here by bringing up the connection with black magic and the occult is that it's very likely, at least in my mind, that sort of the alien pop culture phenomenon came out of what was thought of as demonic, the occult demonic realm, kind of that demonic angle, right? Which would also make sense if they're doing, let's switch for a sec. If what Fritz Springmeier said was true, that some people who leave some of these higher realm kind of mystery schools, secret societies, whatnot, report grays showing up during sacrifices and things like this, that would fit with their demons. There's some kind of demonic entity, and maybe you could interface with them on DMT, or if you took other kinds of things. But that would be more in the realm of they are kind of a otherworldly entity. Maybe sometimes they manifest in our world physically in 3D. Sometimes they don't. Maybe if you do DMT or you do these things, acid, stuff like this, they could manifest themselves and communicate with you. Does that mean they're psychological phenomenon? Does that mean that they're demons? Now, one thing about kind of the upper echelon of the Royal Society, the British kind of aristocracy, which is connected with a lot of this occult stuff and Illuminati and this kind of deal, is that they seem to be very powerful. They pretty much do they like always win every war? You can argue that they don't win every single war, right? But one of the proposed ideas is that they will do sacrifices of people or do some of these rituals, and they will be given information from the entities that get energy, kind of the Archon idea, or sort of that. Like they will give information. So the entities that are fed by whatever the sacrifice is, sacrifice to the gods, which has been something all throughout humanity's history, has kind of been sort of there and done sort of in secret or in sort of a protected fashion so the average person doesn't know about it. One of the proposed ideas is that they will give, the entities will give technology or they will give information in exchange for sacrifice or for this kind of thing. Now, if some of those entities take the form of grays, is it possible that they are some kind of demonic entity from as above, so below, from below, and they are coming here in exchange for something, whether it be energy, whether it be human sacrifice, whatever, rituals, whatever, a blood price, paying a price for something, a sacrifice of some kind. Is it possible that they are giving us technology or information from whatever they get out of it? So it's a deal, right? Like you give them something and they give you something back. And it kind of goes into kind of the young idea too, which is that the energy from a younger person is more pure to them than an older person, like a child, maybe a boy, around the ages of, let's say, 7, 10, up to, or maybe even younger, I don't know, up to like 18 or something. We think of as like most countries would have like legal age, whatever. So so we'll get into the Bob Lazar stuff here, Young Exile, but I just can't separate, and thank you, Salty Shapper Vessel, for the super chat. He said, hey, Trev, hope all is well with you and your girl. Yeah, Jess is great. Thanks, Salty. She's downstairs. She's chilling out. And I told her I'm doing one tonight on aliens. So it's fun. And I'll tell you guys about my sort of alien experience when I was younger. It was just like a dream of some kind that I had. I watched Fire in the Skies, and then after that I had a real bad nightmare where I dreamt that I was being like visited by some kind of shadow entity or something like this, like an Archon or alien or something of the sort, like very skinny, slender, but all shadow. Didn't really get to see any details, anything like that. But I'm almost positive that was just a dream or a psychological manifestation. But I had sleep paralysis. I was like 11. I had watched Fire in the Skies, and after that I had sleep paralysis, and I couldn't really move, and I had sort of this lucid dream that an entity or shadow type creature being was coming into my room, and I was frozen and kind of I was trying to move and whatnot. Eventually I was able to kind of break myself kind of free of it, of this kind of nightmare dream state that I was in, which is very also common with kind of the abduction phenomenon, which is that people will feel like they're frozen, and they used to call it old hag syndrome. Like back before this alien kind of pop culture, they would think like a witch was sitting on their stomach or something like this. They couldn't move, and it was like a form of sleep paralysis. So I do think that that's probably some kind of psychological experience, like a type of dream or something, like a terror dream or a night terror, where especially when you're younger, you can get those, I think, as a male. I don't know about females. Maybe females do too. You girls can weigh in on that too if you've ever had sleep paralysis and thought you like an entity was coming or something like this, right? I think it's just psychological. I had it myself. I think after I had that, I was like, well, I watched Fire in the Skies, and a couple days later, I dreamt I was a kid, right? So I watched Fire in the Skies. A couple days later, I dreamt I was being visited or captured or something by an alien. It's like, okay, yeah, Trevor, you had a nightmare because you were too young, and you were being you had a nightmare because you shouldn't have been watching a horror movie like that when you were that young, which we can get into Fire in the Skies and Communion after. Well, we got in Communion a bit, but Fire in the Skies a little bit after, and Bob Lazar. So I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just a psychological phenomenon. I do not believe I was abducted by aliens. No, I think I had a nightmare after I watched a movie about that. So let's just, I'll get that out of the way too as well here. But I understand the people who do think that if they were abducted or whatever, I'd just be interested for them to try to say, are you sure it was a physical phenomenon, or do you think it could have been a psychological sleep paralysis type of thing, and maybe a cognitive thing instead of a physical, type of deal? So let's get into Bob Lazar soon here, and thanks again for your support, Young Exile. Anyone else has some, you can send them through, And so a basket of puppies said the Omen is what he wants. And Spike 43 said Luciferians want to hurt God. Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that. Kelly Media said Aaron Russo. So that's cool. So maybe we get into that a little bit too. We can't go through everybody in one video. But so Memento says, Trevor, are you saying aliens are really demons? Well, I don't know, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am absolutely 100% certain this is what it is. I don't know. But what I'm saying is let's look through the history and let's see what makes the most sense and see what you guys think. Because I want to hear what you guys think as well, too. I haven't necessarily made my mind up on it 100%. I do think they could possibly be some kind of interdimensional entity. Are they demons from below of some kind, formless or what have you? Could be the case. I also find it interesting that for all the people that claim to be abducted by aliens, almost none of them have, or basically none of them, have any good proof of it, right? They don't have a picture of it. They don't have a recording. They don't have a video. Now, Dr. David Jacobs, I heard that criticism of the abduction phenomenon with him, and he said that when he gets his abductees to try to record the experience, they will, let's say they have a tape recorder on or a video camera on where they're sleeping, they will enter sleep paralysis, they will get up, and they will go shut off the recorder, and then the abduction experience will take place, and then the next day they'll wake up and realize the recorder was shut off during it. So his kind of counter for that is the people that are being abducted, if they try to record it on video, tape, or whatever, they will basically get mind controlled, I suppose, telepathically, shut off the recorder, shut off the tapes, and then the next day will realize the tapes were shut off and that they might have been abducted. We'll get the hypnosis regression, so they'll be able to tell through what happened, and they'll include that they shut off the tape. So there's basically no evidence, but that's pretty convenient, isn't it? Geez, isn't that not convenient that somehow these beings are so intelligent they know if you're recording them or taking a picture and they stop you from doing it? I guess you could say it's like, it's not impossible they could be so advanced or so aware of what's going on around, but everyone has a cell phone everywhere. Don't you think there'd be a slip up somewhere and we'd be able to get, if they were physical, we'd be able to get a real good picture or something, and they weren't sort of a mind's eye type of manifestation or something? Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Again, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I just thought we should cover everything and kind of go through as much as we can. So, yeah. So, Hulk Cigar said, woke up with a smile. Well, that's good. Anyone ever? Okay, so I'll leave you guys with this one as we continue. Have any of you guys ever had sleep paralysis? Have you ever had an abduction experience? Don't be scared to share. Don't be worried of ridicule. This is a safe space. You can share. You can say what you think. And if you did, do you think it was a nightmare, or do you think that it something like that, or do you think that it's possible it was legitimate? So let's see. That's the stuff with the starting of it. All the 1950 movies. The connection with demons and I, Was and Lamb. The connection with Whitley Strieber and his understanding of the occult, just happening to write a book on aliens, and kind of the idea of them being called something different tomorrow, and the possibility of them being demons, and that's why they would be interested in some kind of sacrifice or rituals or what have you. Interesting stuff. Are they giving information as opposed for some energy transfer something? It's interesting too. Don't know how you would fit in the hybridization program with that, if there's any truth to the hybridization program at all. Maybe there isn't. But again, I don't know. I've never, I've never been abducted to the point where I was something like that weird happened. Maybe we need Simon Parks in here or something for that. So we need to get him in here. Only that let's just ignore the fact that his parents were like MI5, right? Let's just ignore that, right? Let's just push that aside, not worry about that. It's like someone's a Mason or their intelligence agency or their family's intelligence agency, but we're going to believe them about aliens. That's kind of a conflict of interest, don't you think? Kind of a conflict that they're an intelligence agency person, but we're going to believe anything they say about aliens. It's kind of a big problem, right? Now, there were some things that were brought up at a higher level. Reagan did talk about at the UN the alien threat. So, cannot swords be turned to plowshares? Can we and all nations not live in peace? In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize our common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is an alien threat already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our people than war and the threat of war? So that whole thing. So that was one of his quotes that he said. He made a statement at the UN, and which is basically the New World Order. The UN pretty much is the world government. It is the New World Order, basically. Again, formed by the same key people that you can research out of the the royal illuminated type of circles, right? Same people who created the United Nations. The key families that you want to look at is is all basically connected in together. So no surprise that kind of they were sort of people like H.G. Wells and the others were kind of the ones who sort of promoted the alien thing, or sort of thought it up to begin with. That's quite a weird coincidence that then they are, at least with Reagan, was kind of promoting the concept of the possibility of a alien invasion or aliens to bring all of man together to create kind of a one world system. Let's just see here. Let me see if Wells is in here. Let's see if Wells was. Let's see. Yeah. Committee of 300. So I'll show you guys this right here. Let's go to full screen. So Committee of 300, Dr. John Coleman, page 253, Committee of 300 member, H.G. Wells. Right, I don't know if you can see it. Right there. So you don't think I'm lying to you. H.G. Wells, the guy who created War of the Worlds, futurist, wrote the book New World Order, just happens to be in the Committee of 300. And buy this book if you want to know who the Committee of 300 is. It's basically the most upper level of government, I'd say, in the world above the RIIA, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which connects into the Council on Foreign Relations, which runs shit in the U.S. basically. There's not really a secret group, the CFR. It's there. People know what it is. But basically that's a weird connection, right? H.G. Wells, Committee of 300 member, in the royal type societies, in that upper echelon of the illuminated degrees, and he just happens to write New World Order, and he happens to write War of the Worlds. So you have an interesting connection here between our oligarchs and the alien deal. Now, there is also kind of the idea that there's a cover-up, okay? And we can get into kind of this, maybe we'll go into the Bob Lazar stuff now. If you guys don't know who Bob Lazar is, and again, I don't want to talk bad about anybody because that's not the idea here, what we're getting into. But Bob Lazar is a guy, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience recently as well, too. Now, he is a guy who claims that he worked at, I believe it was S4, in kind of that Area 51 type of territory. Now, he has had somewhat of a static story since he kind of came out. But basically, his deal is that he says that he was brought on to kind of back engineer UFOs, to back engineer flying saucers. And he sort of has a sketch for how they think it works. And it includes kind of gravity, and it includes kind of, I think they have a reactor in them, stuff like this. He's got these sketches for how they supposedly work. And he's been on Joe Rogan Experience. He's got Area 51 and flying saucers. Has he said that he saw a gray once working with them? I think something like that. Sometimes like he'll say it, but they not. You know, it's kind of in the middle there, whether or not he wants to make that official statement or not. But kind of Area 51, that whole thing. Now, here's the thing. Dreamland, there's Coast to Coast, these types of George Norrie, Art Bell. Was he a Freemason? I'm trying to think. Is it Art Bell who's a Freemason or not George Norrie? I don't know. It's hard to keep track. But anyway, Bob Lazar has been very big in terms of bringing out some of these concepts of the U.S. government having flying saucer technology and trying to back engineer it, this whole thing. And I think he says he was scouted because he tried to put like a jet engine or something crazy like this into a car, like build his own super fast car. He was sort of maybe an entrepreneurial minded different kind of thinker that wasn't your agreeable, high educated, MIT cookie cutter guy. They wanted someone to take a look at some of what they had who was a little bit different, who thought a little differently, who was sort of kind of just something different from your regular MIT type of people. This is him when he's younger here, and this is him more closer now that he's older and whatnot. So here's the tricky thing with Bob Lazar. Okay, so we know that the Joe Rogan Experience is connected with, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about too much, but anyway, it's handled, it's managed, right? It's not like Joe can just go on and say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants about anything. No. It's pretty much the premier podcast in the world for this kind of stuff, and so it is handled. When he has certain guests on, he's got an earpiece, he's handled. We know that he is, what did Alex Jones say? Let's just stop pretending we're not tip of the spear, which is U.S. military special forces, tip of the spear. They even have a spear tip for their logo and whatnot. So it is controlled. If you watch JRE and you think that it doesn't have the approval of U.S. military or U.S. officials, CIA, intelligence agencies, yes, it does. Of course it does. If it didn't, they just shut it down. Now, here's the thing. There was a concept that there was a cover-up to stop people from finding out the truth about flying saucers. And there still is to some degree. The government is keeping it from you, and there are flying saucers and there are aliens and whatnot, but it's a conspiracy. They're keeping it from you. They're not telling you about the aliens, right? And they're keeping it secret, whatnot. This whole kind of agenda, this whole kind of angle. And we're going to make, it's kept secret by the government, but we're going to make 10,000 movies about it over the last 70 years, right? We're going to make, there's probably even more alien movies than that. There's probably more than 10,000, right? It's a cover-up, it's secret, but we're going to have Hollywood make 1 billion movies about aliens, right, in the culture and create this culture creationism. Obviously, that doesn't happen. If the U.S. government really doesn't want people to know, Hollywood movies do not get made about it. It's that simple. The intelligence agencies will call the movie companies and they'll say, no, you're not doing that. That's basically what's going to happen. He's going to go on what news channel, on what news show? No, he's not. I don't think so. And if they did post something, there would be hell to pay if there was something in there that the intelligence agencies in the U.S. did not want to be there. It would be censored, it would be controlled, it would be eliminated. So there is a huge discrepancy here with sort of one of these premier Bob Lazar being one of these premier truth tellers that doesn't get shut down, or he doesn't get basically hunted down. Because if let's be clear here, if they had flying saucer tech, which I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I have no idea. You don't either, right? Unless you're watching this from, unless you're in S4 or something, you'll know if it's true or it's not. Maybe it's not true, and you'll know, like, no, we don't have that here. I work here. We don't have that here, right? We were testing out something else, some other kind of thing that we didn't want people to know about. If they did not want people to know, he would not be on JRE. If they did not want people to know, he would not be on what were the news specials and stations? Netflix. What else has he been on the 90s? Different news stations that are cult owned and controlled. Guys like Ted Turner, CNN, Committee of 300 member Ted Turner. You know, there's no way he would get on the news giving out secret information that they did not want out. He might go on one program, and after that, if he really if he signed confidentiality agreements, okay, and he later went out and gave that weapons information. Just think about secret weapons information. If he had secret weapons information, specifications, designs, anything, and he took that after signing his obligations to government, and he went on the news and he went into this mode and started disseminating all of this top secret information, even if it's not, forget aliens for a second, let's say it was some kind of new weaponry that they had that they could use before the wars in the Middle East or whatnot, like Iraq or something. Let's say that someone was giving out actual military specification information. you would not hear about them again. That would be the end of it for them. They might go on one special or something. They might leak it once, and then they disappear. They're gone. You don't see them again. They don't show up on the biggest podcasts in the world. They don't show up on news stations. They don't show up on CNN and Ted Turner CNN and the others. They don't even show up maybe on InfoWars. You don't even see them, right? They don't even get clearance to go on there. So, and worse than that, if they were really doing it and they couldn't be tracked down, once they were tracked down, that would be the end of it for them. They would be either in prison for the rest of their life, or worse, they wouldn't be talking to anybody ever again at all, period, right? Because they wouldn't be able to. They'd be time's up, time's over, right? So there's no way that he could be telling, this is what I'm contending here. There's no way that this could be there if they don't want it there. Impossible. If it went out one show, one time, then they would track it down and shut it down. If it was a real cover-up, they would really cover it up. You wouldn't have it in movies. You wouldn't have it in TV shows. You wouldn't have it anywhere because they would not want anyone to know. It would be shut down 100%. In other words, if there was a cover-up, we wouldn't even be talking about it right now because it would be censored online. You wouldn't even be able to talk about it because you would get in trouble for even mentioning it. So that's the deal. So I don't know anything about the man, never met him, nothing like that. But there is a huge discrepancy in that. And if you were giving out actual covert intelligence, or you were giving out actual weapons specifications against the orders of your superiors, that doesn't go well. You don't get to do that and just walk around and just get to be a free person. Based on my experience, that doesn't happen. But here's one that does happen. This one is pretty cool right here. And this is not me doing a hit piece on anybody, but Alan Watt has, and you can check out his site. It's cuttingthroughthematrix.com. That's cuttingthroughthematrix.com. DeBess is the YouTube channel and the BitChute channel. And he he's also said before that he was actually approached to do some stuff and for something, and like some maybe Illuminati conspiracy stuff, like for movies and whatnot. And he has been asked, okay, when do you bring in the aliens? When do the aliens come in? And he basically said, there are no aliens. We're not doing aliens. And he basically lost his deal. Like he said, I've heard recordings of him on YouTube here and elsewhere, that he was going to do some of these bigger project things, like big movies, things like this. And he was going to write for them, or they were going to use his material. And because he refused to bring in the alien idea, he was shut down. They didn't do his deal. So they did not do his deal because he was not going to promote the alien agenda, the alien deal. So here's what he had to say. Now, this one's about David Icke, sort of, in some ways. And I like David Icke a lot. I'm a huge fan of his. So just take it for what it's worth. But we'll have a listen to this. And he goes into counterintelligence and kind of the reptilian. So this is like the reptilian angle, or the reptilian idea. Now, let's just see if we can get this to where you guys are going to be able to hear it. Okay, yeah, so Spike43, that's a good comment. Spike43, before we watch this, said, you could go the opposite way and push it everywhere and make it look stupid. You can do counterintelligence to make it look like a farce. Or maybe it is counterintelligence to make other things look like a farce. Okay, and let's go through here what he says here, and let's see if this will work here. Desktop audio. Hopefully this will be loud enough. Okay, let's try it.
Many people have been, they follow certain radio stations, the Patriot type things. A lot of them are phony, I'm afraid to say. They don't give them all the real information they need to know, and they're so confused that they're following different types of gurus like David Icke and different ones that lead them out in circles. I've never seen so many confused people in my life, really.
Well, David Icke's an interesting story, actually. I don't know much about him, but I've seen some of his material, and when he got into the shape-shifting lizards and said it with a straight face,
yeah.
I found it very hard to believe that there are individuals who are truly shape-shifting lizards.
Mm-hmm. Here's the key behind this. Now, this is something people should realize. MI5 and MI6 have a place outside the Cotswolds. It's called the Cotswolds outside London, where they train people to go out into the world and create mysticism and confusion. And Aleister Crowley was one of the first men they sent out there to set up the OTO, the Order Templari Orientis, a higher Masonic group, which most people in Hollywood join and most musicians join, and they've followed him up with many others since. Now, David Icke took everyone else's work, who'd done the real investigations. He shot to the top, all the doors open from him. You couldn't buy that kind of publicity unless someone gave the nod at the top. It cost millions just to publicize him. And he became a superhero, leads all the people using all of this information of other authors, and then leads you off like the Pied Piper in a circle to the lizard people. And all of those authors in the backs of his book are now ridiculed into the same place as he's taken you. That's called counterintelligence.
Sure. Oh no, it's very effective, because if they can make you out to be Looney Tunes, and everybody he's mentioning goes with him. Do you think he's aware he's a pawn?
I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing. He phoned the Sweet Liberty site some years ago, and then got in touch with me for a lot of the information that he used, and the only stipulation was that he didn't spin it off into any odd series of serpents and so on. But it didn't matter, he did it anyway.
I thought you boys understood.
Okay. All right, so that's basically the clip. I hope you guys could hear that okay. So pretty much what it is that he's saying that at least with regards to reptilians, that they're used as what you would call counterintelligence. So MI5, MI6, that type of British, I think is it the oldest intelligence agency? I think it is the oldest, right? So what Alan Watt is proposing is that what they're actually doing with the reptilian sort of silly alien ideas, they're using them as counterintelligence. So they will couple them with other things to make everything look ridiculous. So they'll come out and they'll say, okay, so if and I don't want to talk bad about David Icke. I like David Icke a lot. I'm a fan of his and everything. I like Alan Watt a lot too. But if what he's saying is right, then and it does interest me that on BitChute there's Simon Parks right now, which is he claims that his mom is like a 9-foot-tall alien or something like this. And again, he's like an English guy, same kind of type of area, same kind of thing. So it does fit with what Alan's actually saying, which is that what he's saying is that they use the reptilian alien idea as a counterintelligence piece to discredit information that goes with it. So they might give you all this information about, secret societies, different groups like this, and then they give you your heroes and they put in with it the alien, reptilian, shape-shifting agenda to discredit the whole thing. So that you discredit everything else that goes with it because it's ridiculous. And then if somebody goes and tells a family member or a friend or somebody like, oh, I heard about this group that rules the world, blah, 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 whatever, and they're shape-shifting lizards. The person's going to be like, this guy's effing stupid. What the? He's lost his mind, right? He's effing dumb, right? That's what he's contending here, is that it's used for counterintelligence. So that then people hear it and they think, oh, well, that's all ridiculous. That's no good, right? Basically, this page here, I think this is Eric Dubé's site, AtlanteanConspiracy.com. So it discredits all of the reality that goes along with it. I think Alex Jones was saying that for that one. So like a turd in the punch bowl type of thing. And there's a lot of these videos too. I also find it funny too that some of these videos are like removed. Like there's one that's removed. They just removed some of them. There's another one that's removed. Stuff like that. So anyway, it's interesting stuff. But basically, you could say that what they also might be is high-level psychological operations, high-level psychological ops used to discredit. Pair that with other things that you don't want people to know to discredit the whole thing. And then people think, oh, this person's crazy. He thinks reptilian aliens rule the world, right? He thinks that these bloodlines are half reptilian, alien, whatever. They're reptiles, right? It discredits the rest of the information. So it can be used for that as well, too. And it discredits the person who's saying the information. If you tell people your mom is a 9-foot-tall alien, then they're going to look at you like, this guy's something's not right. Like crazy. This one's crazy, right? So very useful if you want to discredit something. Get maybe a crazy alien guy to come on television and talk about something you don't want people to know, and then get the audience to laugh a whole bunch, and it will do a great job to program Mr. and Mrs. Keeping Up with the Joneses at home that the whole thing is nonsense, right? And that's another thing that's promoted too, is that you don't get on major television unless you're in the club that George Carlin talked about, which is a big club. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. So one idea is that these people, they might not be anti-establishment, like, there's a flying saucer, this kind of idea, reverse engineering it. How do you know he's not an agent in place giving you the information they want you to have? So instead of it being a cover-up that, we don't want people to know aliens are visiting, whatever, that's actually maybe the opposite of what it is. Maybe what they're actually doing is they want you to they want to kind of like play games with you psychologically to where you like really believe it. And I think I do have some stats from the Tavistock, this book right here, maybe we can take a quick look at, and we'll come back. But basically, he's got some stats here, the Tavistock Institute, social engineering the masses. We got some wise old owls here, some owlies here, and we got a sheep in shackles being carried across, right? And another wise old apple here, and they're wearing sort of crowns, which is interesting. And it's got some stats here on how many people believe in aliens, what they think, that whole thing. So it's science fiction and the Tavistock Institute. Now, Tavistock is social engineering, so it's involved with basically culture control, culture creation, culture control through entertainment, movies, media, different, even internet probably now too, to control the masses and kind of give them. So this goes into, chapter 7 is into The Day the Earth Stood Still, When Worlds Collide, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Book of Eli, H.G. Wells, Time Machine, and then it goes into kind of aliens. And it says, well, let me find the stats here real quick. 80% of Americans believe that the government is hiding the existence of extraterrestrial life forms. So 80%. So 4 out of 5 believe that there's a cover-up against aliens. Which, now that I know how the television stations and movies and media works, it's like, there's no way. And wouldn't it be obvious that the government would have their mitts in the entertainment industry? Why would you think otherwise? Why would you think the government doesn't have their mitts and their agents into the intelligence agencies? Of course they do. Of course they do. So 80% believe the government is hiding the existence of extraterrestrials. Okay, fair enough. But that's 80%. 64% believe aliens have contacted humans. So you have more than half the people out there, 64% believe that aliens, probably grays in their mind is what they're thinking of when they say aliens. Aliens have contacted humans. 50% believe aliens have abducted humans. So half the people believe that aliens have abducted people. And 75% believe that a UFO crashed near Roswell instead of a Project Mogul balloon, which is what was purported by the government there, that it was really a cover-up and it wasn't a top-secret balloon. And so you could even say that in that case, suppose it was a Mogul balloon that crashed in Roswell. They could have used the alien agenda to cover up the fact that they were spying on the Soviets with a Mogul balloon. They were trying to see if the Soviets had, what kind of explosives they had, how powerful they were they nuclear or not, whatever your thoughts are on that. But basically, in Roswell, you could say the alien idea was used to discredit what it actually was, which was top secret spying tech using a type of special type of balloon. Not just like a regular balloon, but a type of balloon that would measure explosions. So they could try to get a grasp of if they were, how powerful the explosives were that the Russians had. They blame Roswell and aliens to discredit the fact that it was actually just a spying balloon that was tracking how powerful the explosives were. So it's sort of like there is a cover-up there officially one way or another. Either it's that aliens were used to cover up the fact that they were spying on the Russians, or the Mogul balloon was used as a cover-up and it was actually aliens. So that's up to you how you want to look at that. It's your choice. I'm starting to go kind of the less sexy angle, which is that it was probably a spying balloon to spy on the Russians, and the aliens were actually to discredit what was done at that time. They don't care now if you know it was a spy balloon, because now the Cold War is not what it was. Post-World War II. 26% believe that we should be treated as an enemy. 39% believe that aliens would appear very humanoid. 35% believe that aliens would look somewhat human. Almost 22% believe they have seen an unidentified flying object themselves. So that's pretty cool. Some good stats on it. It does go into kind of the early days of H.G. Wells, British foreign intelligence during World War I, and spiritual grandfather of the Aquarian conspiracy, was a protege of leading Darwinist T.H. Huxley, founder of the British Round Table Intelligence Organization, along with Cecil Rhodes. So again, you have the connection between Darwinism with the Huxleys, because the Huxleys and the Darwins were intermarried. So Darwin's bulldog, right? You have Huxley, so you have the connection between Darwinism, which is theory of evolution, the Huxleys, and aliens. So aliens, if you go with the scientism approach, aliens are an extension of evolution. Aliens are a sci-fi add-on to the Big Bang evolutionary model that the the British intelligence is building on. So they created Darwin and the others, same kind of attachments here, same kind of society, the Huxleys, the others, Committee of 300, arranging for Darwinism, which it says in the protocols. We arrange for Darwinism. And the extension of Darwinism going right up to aliens. And that aliens are not a cover-up that, they are real and the government doesn't want us to know. That is actually part of the psyop, that they do want you to think they're aliens, but the actual truth is not sexy at all, which is that there aren't, right? And they're actually demons or something like this, and this is where they kind of came from and what have you. I don't know. It's a good case for it. It's connected, but to anyone who says there's no connection between evolution and aliens is absolutely wrong. The same people, the same families, the same parties that were connected with British intelligence and the Committee of 300 and the others created both. They created evolution with Darwinism. They brought that to the forefront, which is taught in schools and textbooks nowadays. And they were the same ones who thought of the concepts of extraterrestrials, alien invasion, War of the Worlds, New World Order, and kind of that alien concept after. So there you have that. So yeah, the idea that, okay, let's put it this way. If there's a local U.S. government cover-up for aliens, there certainly is not a British aristocracy, Masonic, Royal Society, intelligence agency cover-up of aliens. In fact, it's the opposite. It's implanting aliens. They are trying to implant aliens, and not take them away from people and hide them. They're trying to bring them out to people because it goes along further with scientism, outer space, Big Bang evolution, and this Masonic cosmos, this Masonic Carl Sagan, Masonic Royal Society perpetuated viewpoint of the world that they want people to have. You can even go into heliocentrism, geocentrism as connected to that as well. Apollo, right? A lot of the astronauts have also said that they might have seen aliens when they went to the moon. They might have seen. It pairs it up so that nobody questions, hey, did you guys really go there? Like really, did you really go? It's like, well, of course we did. We the real one is that we saw aliens there, right? We saw UFOs. They were watching us. And then Joe Rogan freaks out, oh, they were watching you. Oh my God, that's mind-blowing. You're an astronaut, and you say that you might have seen aliens. Oh man, that's the real, oh, I get the dig, man. I get the dig. Oh, the cover-up is that there are aliens, but that you're going to tell us, but that you see how this feeds into their entire scientism, their entire, like Reagan saying the same thing at the UN, the entire scientism mythos. And at that point, you would say that's where it becomes a religion, right? Is where it gets into kind of the alien deal, the kind of the idea like, oh, I believe in, because you would go, a lot of people with the scientism, outer space, moon landing is real type of mindset would be that aliens are kind of the conspiracy there, when actually the real conspiracy is that stuff, that foundational building blocks of architecture in your mind are actually not correct anyway. They're false, right? So they're building on, so they're using more falsehoods, but trying to act like that's the thing to keep the eye on the birdie and get you looking away from the fact that those foundational pieces are not actually true, but that gets you looking at, oh, well, are aliens real or are they not real? That whole, the topic of this video right here today. So anyway, good stuff. Yeah, it shouldn't be, Spike, it shouldn't be, but it does have a problem when it has an agenda. That's when science is a problem, is when there's an agenda. So one world religion. Now we'll go into kind of the finishing up parts here of one world religion and what is being purported here by the same group that we've just been talking about. So one world religion is kind of the idea that you have kind of one essential religious viewpoint for all of humanity, and it is being switched in the last 100 to 200 years. It is switching from that old kind of Christian, maybe Catholic type of biblical type of viewpoint, and it's going into the new scientism, atheism, Big Bang, evolution, dinosaurs, aliens, outer space type of mythos. And I have no doubt, well, I am still playing in my mind with the idea, I wonder if they'll actually try to do an actual mock alien invasion type of thing in real life. Like, I wonder if they'll actually try to do that and try to convince people there. I mean, maybe people would say, well, it could happen. Aliens could invade, right? They're here. I knew it all along, right? it's like, you know, that'll be them faking it. When 80% thinks they're really here and it's really happening, that'll be what happens when they actually do it, right? If they actually fake it, that's how people will react, because that's how they react to everything else they do, right? It's like, it's 80%. It's like, oh, it's really real, right? It's like one world religion. So ultimately, the idea, and I've got the stuff with Pike here, Albert Pike's letter, 1871, where he said, we shall unleash, where is it? Where is the part of the quote that I wanted to, bring it up, right? We shall unleash the atheist and the nihilist. Where is it? Damn it. I thought I had this prepped. I screwed that one up. This is the one about war. Anyway, he goes into Zionism's, let's see. Damn it. I screwed that one up. Pike, we shall unleash the atheist and the nihilist. So when he said that, yeah, there we go. Okay. Google, thank you, Google. In this case, you're helpful. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm in which all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origins of slavery and most bloody turmoil. Now, he was also a Luciferian, but that was kind of secret, it seems like to me. It seems like he wouldn't always tell everybody, Pike, that he was Luciferian, but he was. There's other quotes of him getting into Luciferianism and talking about Luciferian worship, this kind of thing, which all the Committee of 300 members are Luciferians. So it's kind of like, it seems to me, they are going to be Luciferian, but they want the working class to be atheists. That's what they want. Scientism, atheists is basically what they want. And that's what they're going to teach, and that's what they're going to promote. And so one angle is that aliens is just a part of that. Now, I did look into crop circles a little bit. I won't get into cattle mutilation much, but crop circles are pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have ever looked into them. Some of them do look pretty damn cool. Thank you, D-Cell. You're awesome too, man. Jackie, thank you. So, so crop circles. Okay, so how could they create crop circles? How could they be created? Well, they could be created by man, right? It's not easy to say that we don't have, like, if you're a proponent of satellites, we don't have some satellite that could burn in some kind of thing or something like this. And they could just be testing or messing with people as far as that goes. Yeah, they could be, Adam, I agree with that. They could be an interdimensional signal of some kind. They're often reported with orbs of light being around them. So you will see orbs of light around crop circles. You will see some amazing patterns like some of these. Now, there was a group, Richard D. Hall did a really, really good breakdown of, he did a video, I think you can find it on BitChute. It might be removed from YouTube now, I'm not sure. Which is, he went into crop circles, he did some interviews on it. There are some people that have spent a lot of years investigating crop circles. And some of them are pretty advanced and that kind of thing. So, like some of these things like this. Now, there are MI5 connections to crop circles, especially in the UK sections. So One of the campaigns was called Circle Makers, and this is their website, circlemakers.org in the 90s. Now, I don't know if they're still active. Their site's still up, but in the hashtags, the keyword tags for this site was MI5. So, and they were also doing recruiting. There was also a link in the 90s, apparently, that would bring you to an MI5 recruiting site if you wanted to join Circle Makers. So, so is that a cover-up from MI5? You can watch Richard D. Hall's Crop Circles episode. You can find it online. Was it a MI5 operation to create them? I think one of the keywords for the team, Circle Makers, was also Operation Satan, I think, at one point. So again, you have the connection of the occult with what is supposedly, Crop Circles alien type of agenda. So were they creating all the Crop Circles? There was a guy, let's see, I think I wrote his name down. Lumberg was his name. So Lumberg of Team Satan with cropcircles.org. So Lumberg was an art college major, which was at a college or university that was near MI5. And Richard D. Hall did some good background checking on him, and he found that basically he might have Crop Makers, which was a section in the UK of kind of what was known as crop circles, could have been going around and making them and getting funding from MI5 to do it. Because what investor would pay people to go around at night, sneak into people's yards, and create crop circles? It doesn't seem to ring true. But the government might do it to create mysticism, like that OTO idea, where they go around, they create mysticism and magic and everything else, further perpetuating and creating the alien thing. Also to say, it isn't that we don't likely have technology that could burn in these shapes for testing or something, or that it could be some kind of occult origin or something like this. Maybe like real magic or something that's kept kind of secret, interdimensional beings or something like this. So that's about the best I can do for crop circles. Sometimes I find them interesting, sometimes they're kind of boring. But some of the shapes are cool, and I don't know. There was one that was like a gray that was near, was it SETI, is it called? Something like that. Yeah, this one. This is the one I was talking about, which is kind of cool. This is like a gray alien crop circle that was kind of burned in near, I think it was the SETI organization, something like that, which is pretty cool. But again, it does like the eye inside of the eye, so it's not an all black eye. But it's just kind of cool. It's kind of amazing to think that somebody could do this. I don't think you could do this with a board in a couple of nights. I don't think you could. But I don't know. Sometimes human beings can surprise you. However, it could be, intelligence agency, military control to burn it in ourselves to create that. So it's hard to tell, man, whether or not all this stuff is fed in through the agencies to create this idea as part of, again, extension of scientism and where they're taking things globally with kind of the way people think. Again, I'm not a proponent of the cover-up idea, because then you wouldn't have so many movies about aliens everywhere. If the government didn't want that, Hollywood would shut down all alien stuff. There'd be no alien movies or TV series at all. They just shut it all down, because they can do that. They do it for other topics. For example, after the year 2001, for some big event that happened, after that, if you were to come out and accuse somebody of having done that on regular television, that would be, you can imagine there'd be hell to pay. So if there is a cover-up, it's not much of a cover-up. It's more like a promotion, it seems like to me. So, yeah, Jackie said laser light tech, Trev. Something like that it could be, but, as far as like cattle mutilation, stuff like that too, we can never rule out that it could be human beings or government doing that, right? And I don't think it would be like regular everyday crazy people. I think regular everyday crazy people don't get a whole lot done. They don't achieve a whole lot. So most of the time you're dealing with governments effing with people, which if you want to research that, you can research the Letter After P group from this last year of governments effing with people, and watch some of the stuff on BitChute and watch some of the people there and stuff they say, even now that they're still saying. It's like, dude, are you a crazy person? You're probably an agent, right? You're getting a paycheck, aren't you, right? To publish this shit online. You're getting paid for this, aren't you, right? So a lot of it is government agencies actually promoting it because they're just so, like Alex Jones said, CIA is bigger than Coca-Cola. So, and you got to add in MI5, all the intelligence agencies in the U.S., other countries, and the British being basically the origins of that coming from the British aristocracy, the RIIH, and these Chatham House, and these, kind of the old, what we think of as like the old money. But it never really went away. It just went covert. That's all. So, yeah, so there we go. So I think that's most of what we wanted to cover. We went over Bob Lazar. We went over Willie Strieber. Now, there is Travis Walton with Fire in the Skies. I don't know if you guys have seen. He was on JRE as well. I like his last name that it's Walton, but he's not part of the Walmart deal. Travis Walton, Fire in the Skies. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I spelled skies wrong, didn't I? But this is the one that gave me nightmares when I was a kid. I thought this one was terrifying. And I like Travis. I don't think that there's anything, it's also to say that you can't rule out that maybe, maybe the U.S. military has some kind of tech that's like flying saucers that's secret and they want to try to say it's aliens because they don't want people to know they have it or something like this. Also possible. Like I said, maybe the hypnosis, they're implanting ideas rather than extracting them. Don't know. He seems very credible to me. He seems like he's telling the truth, that he believes it to be that way. But knowing what our oligarchy can pull off in terms of psychological operations, man, you cannot rule out the idea that maybe they messed with him and he believes it to be absolutely real, but it's either implanted, not real, or something. Here's the one-eye symbolism of a gray. But again, the eyes are supposed to be like we can't get a consensus. Are the eyes all blacked out or are they miniature? What is the deal, right? So Fire in the Skies is a very cool one. And were they wearing clothes or weren't they, right? Are there mantises? Are there reptilians or aren't they? Are there Nordics and these different kinds or aren't they? And I would say that, based on what I presented here, I guess I'll go with the understanding that it's an extension of scientism. It's an extension of this one world, new, futuristic religion that's being built, kind of the extension, taking evolution to the next step. If we evolve, blah, 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 then there's got to be other creatures and other planets in this infinite space, Big Bang, other that evolved and could be coming here and could be more advanced than us. Further disempowering the minds of the people, further making them feel like they're just, one of many, what have you, and that we're not special, we're not important, continuing this kind of mindset. So is this like a TV series of Betty Barney Hill, maybe something like that? That's what it looks like to me anyway. But certainly there are cracks in it, because if it was a cover-up, you just wouldn't get all this pop culture about it, unless it's the opposite, unless it's not a cover-up and it's a pop culture creation to, again, further, like I said, that kind of scientism approach. Well, this one's freaky, right? What do you guys think about this one? Let's blow this up for you guys. Yeah, so very freaky, right? But again, we can't agree. Do the eyes take up the whole socket or don't they? What are we even looking at? What do they even look like exactly? But it's still pretty scary. It's still pretty cool. So I got this from Wikipedia. It says some conspiracy theorists believe that grays represent part of a government-led disinformation or plausible deniability campaign, or that they are a product of government mind control experiments. I would have to say that I think maybe they're demons of some kind from somewhere, don't know, or interdimensional. I do not think they're interplanetary. I don't think they're intergalactic, interstellar, whatever. I think they are maybe interdimensional demons of some kind, and that what we are seeing in pop culture is a culture creation through Tavistock and kind of these Luciferian old money people, old royalty and whatnot connected people, Royal Society people, to bring into the culture some demonic Luciferian types of ideas, but to make them cool, to make them, kind of benevolent, to make them kind of popular in this kind of way. I don't think grays are good in any way, for us anyway. I don't think they're good in any way, shape, or form. I do think there's some kind of a demonic entity, and maybe what Joe Rogan said about the DMT thing when he met the host of the guy with the crazy hair. What's the show with the guy with the crazy hair? Is that Ancient Aliens or something like that? Aliens, man. He's got his hair gets crazier as the episode goes on, right? His hair gets more and more wild as the episode goes on. What's that guy's name? But there was one with him and Joe Rogan behind the scenes, I think it was, and Joe Rogan said to him that he thinks the real aliens are when you go on DMT or acid or LSD and then you see demonic entities, you see aliens then. I actually would have to basically agree with that. I think he nailed it there. I think that's actually what it is. There's some kind of either a manifestation of the psyche of human beings, or while it may be on LSD or on drugs or what have you, or there's some kind of demonic entity coming to us, not from another planet, but from another realm, as above, so below. Probably below, because I don't think they're good. Now, if the hybridization thing has any truth to it at all, I don't know what they would be using them for. I really don't know. But I do not subscribe to the idea that they walk among us or anything like that, unless you mean that demon-possessed people like Britney Spears or people like that or others that are into demon possession or whatnot, hear voices and whatnot, that whole thing. Project Monarch and mind programming, all this stuff, CIA, deep state type of ideas. Unless they're like some kind of demonic entity or something like that. So that's kind of where I will end off with my opinion. But, we could all be wrong. It could all be, it could be incorrect. Maybe they are from another planet, Zeta Reticuli, whatever. But I don't think so. So maybe fallen angels, something like that. But I don't hate on anybody, because maybe his experiences, like for Travis Walton, for example, maybe his experiences were very real. They certainly sound very scary. And to me, they sound like maybe they are of demonic origin and not necessarily interplanetary origin. And I don't know if they were physical, mental, maybe part of each, and if there was government involvement one way or the other. Again, I do find it interesting that they have to go under hypnosis to kind of get the information out, and I would be suspicious of them putting information in, is basically what I would be saying, especially if drugs are involved, if it's a government MK Ultra type of programming that they can kind of put in and see how people respond to it. That's where I would go with that. So I think that's everything we basically wanted to cover about aliens. Are they real? Are they not? What have you? I think that's all the information that gives you a download of my mindset with regards to aliens. I do think they're very cool. I do think the idea is cool, but I do think that it came out of some kind of demon worship of some kind, and it sort of, changed, it evolved for pop culture, and it does serve a purpose. You have X-Files and these different types of series, and it's often paired with horror in different works of fiction, movies and whatnot. It's often paired with that. So I would think that that's most likely what I'll go with this one. There are people who have had sleep paralysis and report that if they cried out for Jesus to help them or God to help them, that the entities left, so that somehow that would make them leave or make them go away. Now, I do think that might be a little bit interesting. I've heard multiple people report that same thing. And I do think it's kind of interesting, because if they're from another planet, why would they care about Jesus? They'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't, what the hell are you talking about? Like, who's that? What's that? Like, if they were actually from another planet, that would not have any impact or effect. But for the people who, that's what they say they did, and they said they left after. You can listen to different interviews about that. I've listened to some on BitChute about that, of people crying out for Jesus or God to help them during an abduction experience, and that stopped the abduction experience right there. So the idea that demons are somehow afraid of good. Is this all a manifestation of the psyche of human beings? Maybe. I don't know. So that's all my thoughts on that for you guys. I hope you liked it. What is that, a couple hours now, or at least over an hour we've been going, and I think that's basically everything we wanted to do. Masonic involvement. A lot of times you have like Fravor, you have naval intelligence involved. Again, these are, and they can seem like really nice guys, but if they're Freemasons, if they're intelligence agencies, secret society people, it would not surprise me at all that they have a nice video and they're there to show you their video, and they're giving you what they have as far as their mindset. Naval intelligence, Bill Cooper type of people who at first he thought it was real, and then later he came back on it and said, okay, no, aliens are not real. They are a government kind of mass mind control, mass psychological operation to make people believe in these. There's not a cover-up. It's actually the opposite. And I also find it interesting that our new guy, who is To the Stars, which is Tom DeLong, who is actually a Freemason too. He's got his guitar, and you can see pictures of him with his guitar, compass in the square on it, and I believe that Mark Hoppus is his name. I don't like to talk about music, but I have to because Tom has switched from musician into UFO researcher. He's won awards now for UFO research and disseminating some information. I find it interesting that he's also a Mason, and so was Mark. If they put the symbols in their guitars, the compass and the square, you think they would be. So building, Mason's building blocks of the mental architecture of your mind, building it up through pop culture and through shows like JRE with supposed military intelligence people who seem like really good people, seem very honest, and you might have an ego about it and think you can tell when someone's lying to you, but I've learned that actually you can't tell. Not if they're a professional, not if they're maybe a trained Mason or somebody like this. You can't always tell. You can have a hunch, you can think you can know, but you can't always tell. You know, Bob Lazar seems very credible, Fravor, very credible. And is he recounting an experience he had that they were actually messing with him? Very hard to say, but what's more likely? That it's a psychological operation, culture creation to extend scientism, or that it's actually aliens from another planet coming here, but not interacting, not letting us know, and then also, no one having a picture, no one having anything that's even decent to show. There's some stuff out there, but it's not very good. You know, considering we all have phones with awesome cameras and webcams everywhere and stuff everywhere, how is it possible that we don't have anything of substance really good from any of these supposed abductions or anything else? That would make me lean towards government, huge government operation over the last 100 to 150 years to further the real kind of idea, the real conspiracy being that you're furthering that Darwin, Huxley, H.G. Wells, Royal Society, illuminated world set to get those people into that worker class atheism mindset that you want with your new religion, which is your scientism. And it is a religion because it's based on falsehood. So it's based on mystery and it's based on things that aren't, some of it that's not factual, let's say. If that purported concept is correct, is true. And again, I'm not going to tell you what to think. It's up to you. You can decide what you want. But that's kind of my take on it right now from all the years of research. I love to look into this stuff when I'm not doing Walking Dead with you guys or working and regular stuff like that. So, so Jamaco7 asked, but how do UFOs, how do you explain alien abduction of regular people? Well, we went into that a bit, but it's like, well, what proof do we have that they're really abducted physically and that it's not a dream or a nightmare, sleep paralysis, or a spiritual type of a thing that they're getting into, demon worship of some kind, like the CERN, was it the CERN celebration or that tunnel that they did? They did this tunnel celebration where they were all like marching in, it's like they're marching into hell or something. Again, the connection between advanced physics and Satanism, which have these connections that shouldn't be there. But you see it all the time if you start to look. So take a look if you haven't ever looked at it. The protocols said, think carefully of the successes we arranged for with Darwinism, Marxism, Nietzscheism, importance these directives have had on the minds of the Goyim or of the people of the sheep. So again, we arrange for, if it's true, if the protocols are right, and I've read them, I think of Epstein and I think protocols, I think, yeah, they're probably true, right? Darwinism, it's a forgery. Yeah, you're supposed to say that. It says in the protocols to say they are a forgery, right? And then you say they're a forgery. It's like, well, yeah, it says in the protocols that you're supposed to say they're a forgery, and now you're saying they are a forgery. You're just following. It doesn't disprove them at all. It's like you prove them by doing exactly what they say and denouncing them, right? It's sort of like a nice mental trap there. But we arranged for Darwinism, Marxism, and Nietzscheism, right? So, and then Henry Ford also said that basically the protocols were legit and was made to apologize afterwards for it, because you cannot. I don't want to touch that. But anyway, that's much as we're going to go into that. It's back to aliens, right? Let's go back to a safe space that aliens kind of are. Aliens are a safe space. Protocols are not. You're not supposed to have those or know those. I think it was the death penalty in certain countries if you had a copy of the protocols, the Soviet Union. Yeah, Red, we're still on, but we're wrapping up now, man. Someone seen the CERN thing? Who said about the CERN thing? Oh, Rob's here, right? Oh no, that's Javier. Let's see. Is Rob here? I don't know. Maybe not this week. Maybe he doesn't like aliens. We got Subaduba. Okay, let's see what you guys had to say. So that's a breakdown of everything I got for you with aliens. So Punisher Hawk said CERN tunnel was bringing Lucifer to this plane. Yeah, I know, right? It's like they pair advanced physics with Satanism and Luciferianism. They do it all the time, whether it's in ritual, whether it's in celebration, whether it's in like a play or a music, whatever. They always pair them together. Yeah, they do, because maybe it's possible that none of it's real and that it's actually a Luciferian kind of build-up of a new religion, right? That advanced physics is a new religion. It's a creation. It's not real. It's all make-believe, right? Which I can get into that because I look at kind of the stuff that NASA does, and I think, oh man, is that ever make-believe, right? The green screens and whatnot. People catch them, the astronauts, with green screens, wires holding up their belts as they bend down and stuff. They catch them with all kinds of stuff. Mice. There's like a rat on one of the. Was that SpaceX? I think that was SpaceX. And that as they're calling fake X. So yeah, it's interesting how Luciferianism and Satanism seems to be the precursor to aliens and outer space and all these other things, advanced physics, all this stuff. I love it. I love to read about it because I always think like, it's like the same people that are into that shit are selling you on aliens. Good stuff. And advanced physics too. Really good stuff. And nukes and the other stuff. It's like, we're Satanists, we're Luciferian, and we have nukes, but we never use them. It's like, that's interesting. You have these super weapons, and you're a Luciferian, but you never use them? I don't know. I don't pretend to know everything. But yeah, Darwin went insane at the end, said Spike. Well, I think part of his deal was political. And so with the Darwins and what they brought up, because he didn't just, Charles, and then you have Charles Galton Darwin later, which did the next million years, which might even be more important than what Charles Darwin did. What Galton Darwin did, and what he argues in that book, The Next Million Years, might be even more important than what his precursor did. Because if they're really going to do population control, that's more important than what you think you are. Because now you don't get to be are, right? To think you are. So if they limit it at a certain amount. So yeah. Yeah, let's do your comments here and then we'll wrap up pretty soon because I've been talking for a while now. But let me know what you guys think about the alien stuff after that. Some of you might have been here through most of it, or maybe you joined part way. That's okay. Any questions about aliens or anything? Yeah, Javier said, "Sup, Trev? The Greys stole the E from Big T." Yeah, I'm not going to say the word. I want to get censored. I want to say it. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So somebody noticed, 0311 USMC veteran noticed Crowley's lamb spirit, yep, as being kind of a precursor, 1917, and then communion after, the occult, gray alien, the form of Greys, and the similarities between Aiwass, lamb, and the Greys form. Okay, maybe I'll say it. I think that's where they got it from. I'll say it. I think that's where it came from. I don't think the people are actually being abducted by Greys. No, I think there's probably a government involvement and occult involvement in all of it, all the way through it. But sometimes I catch myself like, oh, but could there be? Because it's cool, right? Like, it's so cool. It's like, oh, but what if there are aliens from other planets visiting us? Like, it's so cool. It's like, yeah, and who told you that? Oh, these Satanists, and they drew pictures of it, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. What did Kelly say? Dan said to Kelly, Bill Hicks is doing fine. I just saw him. Tip of the spear. Tip of the spear. Meanwhile, tip of the spear. Let's just stop pretending that we're not the tip of the spear. So he's one too. You know, he pretends like he's not a luminous. It's like, I found videos of him saying his whole family is like real Illuminati, real enlightenment. It's like, yeah, and he never goes into the moon landing stuff like ever. I think Jay was on InfoWars the other day, and he was doing one on Kubrick. And he's doing one on Kubrick because, again, Kubrick is connected with the alien thing because it's moon, outer space, 2001, AI, all that connection. But Jay didn't even mention on Info, well, it doesn't surprise me it was on InfoWars. He doesn't mention that Eyes Wide Shut was filmed in a Rothschild mansion. Oh, shit, I said it. I mean, Red Shield. And it's like you're not supposed to talk about it, right? That's why if InfoWars doesn't talk about it, you're not supposed to talk about it. That's kind of the rules, right? It's like that's how it works. And he doesn't talk about Kubrick being the one to supposedly have done Apollo 11 moon landings, right? So they never go into that. See, because it's a establishment, anti-establishment program. That's what it is. They're really fun. So there's like, you know, there's gates they won't go through. They won't pass. Gatekeeping. Yeah, exactly. Dr. Stephen Greer, Sala likes. So, Sala, do you fancy Dr. Stephen Greer? He's kind of older now, isn't he? But he's kind of jacked, right? Stephen Greer, he's kind of, what did he say? He said once he benched 350 or something. I'm like, you don't bench 350. What are you talking about? I understand you're jacked up. Okay, I ain't gonna say Greer ain't jacked up. Greer is jacked up, but he ain't benching no 350. Come on, give me a fucking break, okay? I'll bench like 240, maybe 250, touch the chest. But he ain't benching no touch the chest 350. Let me put 350 on your chest and see if you get it off. Okay, I don't think you can. I don't think so. No, man. It's like anyone who tells you they bench more than 300 is like you're dealing with a liar or somebody who's like, I don't know what you'd have to be. You'd have to be a bigger guy, typically, to bench over 300. I mean, the amount of guys that can do that is like nobody. But I like Stephen Greer anyway, but he ain't benching no 350. Let me be honest with you. He said that in some talks, but it's like, no, he ain't benching 350. But, so Sala likes Greer. I never really researched Greer too much. I found his stuff to be okay, but I've never found him to bring anything to the table that was really that great. He's just pushing the government on disclosure, like, tell us. It's like, but what if it's not true, Steve? Then you're getting them to tell you something that's not true and that actually has an agenda too, right? So that's what's tricky about it. Hal the computer, Trev, you angry? Yeah, Hal, right, exactly. And I think Jay said, because I never read the, what did you say the other one was called, where they actually do merge with computers in the future. That's like that Great Reset, Klaus Schwab sort of idea of merging with machines later. Yeah. Trev can cause of the roids. No, even if you're on roids, angry, even if you're on roids, you still can't do 350. It's too much, man. 350 will crush you. Like your chest, you can't. I've tried 260, 270. I only weigh 190. To be able to do 240 at 190 is great. You know, to say that you'd be 200 or 210 and doing 300 or 350 is like you're a liar, basically, is what it is. Because that's almost impossible to do. You just can't, nobody can do that. Anyway, let's get back to power lifters. You got to do it as a career. You have to do it all the time. If you want to be able to do that, you have to do it as a career. And yes, you're gonna have to take some drugs, man. Otherwise, your body ain't gonna be able to get over 300 for bench. No way. 350? Come on, please. That's a lot of weight, man. There's very few humans that can do that. You have to do it all the time for years and years and years. Anyway, and eat like crazy. You have to eat like a horse, man. You have to eat all the time. Okay, so any other questions here about Greys, about aliens? Did you guys enjoy this one? I thought it was fun. We'll probably get back to Walking Dead next week, but I wanted to do one good one on aliens. Yeah, Spike, they are ugly, right? Greys are always ugly. They're always ugly, man. Like, they're always like demonic looking and ugly, and yeah, exactly. Mars Attacks, yeah. Some of them in the other ones, like, they have like big brains and stuff, but they don't exactly fit with the Grey idea, which is what people mostly think of as real aliens in real life, right? So that's the biggest one of what most people think about as actual Greys. So yeah, guys, any other questions for today? And happy Valentine's Day to all you guys too. I'll probably go soon here, but if you guys have any good questions, we can kind of touch on. Did we miss anything for aliens? Did we miss anything that we should touch on? Motherships and shit like that? I don't know. Did we miss anything that we should go into? See, I can't trust them on all that outer space stuff because I know that, like, the stuff that we do, the agencies we have are like, they're fraudulent, man. They're not legit. So how can I trust you on motherships and aliens and all this other stuff? Because it's like, yeah. D-Selly, yeah, he did. He said it, right? Yeah, what do we got here? Don't say the R word, Con. Come on, man. Don't do that. We're going to get censored. Aliens pee out their fingers. I don't know where they go to the bathroom or anything. Or they're born like test tubes or whatnot. So, any fans of the Yo-Yo said, bring back Madison. That's fine. Yeah, X-Files is true. It's a TV show. Yeah, I know. X-Files is like, yeah, another show. And there was also Project Blue Book, which featured the guy from Game of Thrones who played Littlefinger. He was in Blue Book. That was a pretty good show. I like that one. It was good. Like Men in Black. Well, we didn't touch on Men in Black, but that could just be any government agency that's, and again, that's like a cult sort of Men in Black type of thing. Yeah. Kind of cool. Again, it'd be like a government agent. I don't think they'd be extraterrestrial. I think they'd be government. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, low weight is better because you're not going to kill yourself trying to break an arm or drop. The bench press is very dangerous, just so you guys know. Don't try to bench too much. It's extremely dangerous. You can actually, a lot of guys hurt themselves really bad on bench. Be very careful if you're going to do that. Do push-ups instead and bench lower weight because it's very, very dangerous. You can kill yourself pretty easily with big weight if you're doing like too much weight for you, which guys always tend to do that. I don't know why. They're like, I can do it. It's like, put on 280, man. I can do it with no spotter. It's like, oh, bad idea. They lower it. They can't get it off. You got to slide the weights off the bar. That's the trick. I got stuck before when I was in grade 8. I was trying to do too much. I don't know what it was at that time. Grade life. Come on, man. Don't say that. GLM. Come on, man. Don't do that. You're going to get us in trouble here. YouTube censor is going to get it. So yeah, dumbbell bench. Yeah. You could do like flies, really good, or just presses with, but 2. That way you have to lower them. Do like 50s or 60s. You can do less with disconnected. How did aliens turn into talking about bench press? Oh right, someone brought up Greer. That's why. So someone who exaggerates his bench, I find to be a little bit untrustworthy. So at least I think he exaggerates his bench. I'd be shocked if he actually could do 350. I'd like to see him try. But I want to make sure those weights are real, right? I want to touch those weights and make sure they're not like filled or something, unfilled, empty or something. Yeah, like fake weights, yeah. So Crucifix, who said Joe Rogan is a sellout, so is Alex Jones, not on our side. Well, their tip of the spear, Sacred Cow Productions, I believe, with was it Kevin Booth, I think, who started that. So I like them. I like them both. I don't hate them. But you just have to understand that everything's controlled. The television stations are all controlled. The movies are controlled. The internet is even controlled. So I don't hate Joe Rogan. I don't hate Alex Jones, Bill, or anybody else, or Dave Icke. I don't hate any of them. It's just that I just think it's all controlled. And if one of those 3 is not controlled, let's say Dave is not controlled opposition of some kind. Let's say he's totally legit and he's not connected to MI5 or anybody else. It's like, well, there's got to be some people that are actually doing it legit. Maybe he is. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I don't know who is or who isn't. Sometimes you have to level with yourself and just say, hey, listen, man, you don't know who's an agent and who's not. You don't know. So, yeah, the space is controlled. There could be some real people in it, legit people in it. There could be some people in it that are promoting alien stuff on purpose to discredit things. I don't know. You just don't know, man. Yeah, exactly. It's all controlled, but yeah, I agree with this statement, which is that nobody gets on television unless you're in the club, unless it's like a game show or something. Then okay, fine. But if you're like being interviewed on a mainstream news network or something, and even the internet's becoming like this now too. The internet's becoming the same way. Unless you're somebody and you're connected or you're in the club, you just don't get on television, or you don't. Maybe you say you don't get on JRE without a handler. If you get on JRE, then you got to have a handler. You got to be in the club. You'll never have an Eric Dubé on JRE. He should have him on. That's bullshit that he does not have Eric Dubé on JRE. He needs to be on there, and so does David Icke, and so do some of the others. And if you got to get a handler in there too. But have him on. Let him hear. Let him rip. Why not? What's the problem? You so afraid of, right? But again, it's like they're all controlled, right? So we don't have a crazy guy on. Well, if he's crazy, good for ratings. Crazy people are good for ratings, right? What's wrong with that? You have a crazy person on, well, you're going to get your ratings, right? You could have whoever on. You have other people on that are absolutely useless. You have a guy on who's going to question the paradigm, who's going to question your worldview and challenge it. Have those discussions, have those arguments. And if he loses the argument, the debate, he loses it. Fine. But let the man be heard. Let people be heard. But you know what? That's not how culture creation is done. You don't culture create by letting people just say whatever they want. You do it by engineering what's said. You do it by controlling who says it. And that's how it's done. And that's how you social engineer the masses. So it's the nature of the beast, can we say? Yeah, it's the nature of the beast. And you can't hate anybody for it on one side or another. You got to love everyone. So what else we got from you guys before we wrap up? All those TikTok videos that make all connected. Yeah, I don't know what those ones are, man. Stupid TikTok videos drive me crazy. It's like, shouldn't you guys be working? What are you doing? Aren't you in the middle of a... Never mind. How dare I question, whatever they're doing. We can need them soon. Right. Yeah, I'm controlled by the RCMP, Kong. That's right. I am an RCMP agent. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, agents in place. My horse is out back, and What do I have? I have my red outfit too with my Mountie cap. Yeah, that's right, exactly. I could be a controlled opposition. Yeah, I could be controlled opposition. I can Sabbatine Francus the Sabbatine Francus. I could act like I am an agent, but I'm not. That's what I was trying to do. I was like, I'm going to be an agent, but not be an agent. I'll wear a fake mustache and I'll speak a bunch of stuff. I'll counter their countering now. It's like, you can't do anything, man. Just have fun. That's all you can do. Just laugh about it and have fun. That's all you can do. Yeah, that's true. Punisher, I do agree with that. Yeah, Element 115, said Kong. Yeah, their weight's 350 pounds in weights made of Element 115. Yeah, the periodic table. Now it is on the table, so he knew, man. He knew it, right? It's like, who makes that table up, right? Yeah, same people who sold you all this other shit too. Yeah, that's right. But our DNA is exactly this, that much, and it's similar to this, to this, and similar to that, and whatever. Yeah, it's like, and who's the one who laid all that out? Oh, right, the same people who brought the idea out to begin with. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tesla brought up bills. He's a demonic elf. That's Hell's Gates, as he was talking about there. There's too many damn bills, man. Bills all over the place. You can't even keep up with all these bills. Yeah, Elon Musk is one of them. Yeah, of course he is, Crucifix. Isn't his dad, I think David Icke said that Elon Musk's dad was like in the Canadian, was it eugenics or technology something? He's of Elon Musk is of a bloodline that goes back further with tech, basically. So he is, but I think he said he doesn't believe in aliens. So he's kind of been a bit vocal. Elon's been a bit more vocal, going a little bit against the official Masonic narrative we've been getting these last few years for a lot of different topics. I like Elon. I don't hate him either. I still don't think any of his stuff's going in space, but I like him. So, yeah, good stuff. I love, what did Joe ask him? He asked him something about colonizing Mars. I was going to do a reaction video to it. I was going to laugh my ass off because it's like, it depends on when the interface is done. And Joe's like, what do you mean by that? Like, when are we going to colonize Mars? When are we going to do it? It's like, well, it depends on the interface is done. It's basically like, it depends on when our CG gets good enough so that we can convince people that we are on Mars. That's when we'll be on Mars. when the interface is good enough to convince you that we are there, and the difference between CG and real life becomes the same. When CG and real life becomes the same, becomes equivalent, then we'll be on Mars. We go wherever we want then. Because we just make it all up, right? So, yeah. The Bermuda Triangle Tesla, that's where they're going. They're shooting them into Bermuda. Okay, I gotta stretch a bit. They're shooting them into Bermuda, bro. They're going into the water, man. That's where they're going. Or they're going off the screen, deleted in CG. That's where they're going. All right, I'm getting kind of stiff, so we'll wrap up here, guys. Anyway, want to thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys liked the alien breakdown, and have yourselves good night. Transhumanism's where it's going. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Transhumanism and outer space. There's the final frontier. And then the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. I stole that one from Crow 777. Credit to him and Jason. Credit to them. I don't like to steal people's stuff. I try to credit them. It's like, I got that from him. I say it's from him. I got this from Alan Watt. I say it's from him. I got that from him. I say it's from him. Give credit to who, who it is. Yeah, Lee's playing games with us. Spike, I think Spike was here all the way through. He knows. He's got it all. So watch the video back if you want. If you missed something or you join later. We'll go in, goes into everything Grays related that I've got for you guys to present. Yeah, Elon, exactly. Fun stuff. Thanks for joining, Jackie. Thanks for joining, Spike, D-Cell, Kelly, Tesla, Da Vinci, everybody else, Hulk, who else we got here? Wide, and the rest of you guys. Thank you guys. Red October. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you back again soon for another